The efforts in Saudi Arabia to find a peace formula for Russia are laudable, even if Andrei Yermak thinks that they're going to be difficult. Andrei Yermak is the head of the Ukrainian president's office and the main envoy for talks in Jeddah. And I expect the conversation will be difficult, but behind us is truth, behind us is goodness. Behind us also, he might have said, is a sense of humour and a sense of history. And history is with Ukraine, and goodwill, humour, is with Ukraine. And I think the moment Russia relaxes its position, withdraws, and concedes Crimea, the world will embrace Russia again as well, because Russia, not Putin, but Russia, is a land with a soul that is understood by the West particularly. And it has its place in the West. Literature, the arts are drenched in the Russian psyche. And we are as one. This is not a land we do not understand. That's the first point. The second point is that Putin and his cronies do not represent that land. And they are ruling over Russia with tyranny, which is so obvious, so evident. I wouldn't normally use the word obvious. I think the word obvious is something you use wrongly. If something is obvious, you don't need to say it. If something is not obvious, then it's wrong to say it. In this case, I think we need to keep repeating it, because I think countries like Russia haven't realized that it is obvious to everybody else that they are wrong. And we need to keep repeating this so that eventually that message gets through. The country is bathed in propaganda. And we in the West, in the UK, we have the tools to challenge that propaganda. But because we are too focused on ourselves, we think that propaganda isn't important. We think that propaganda is just to Russians. That propaganda is central. So if Russians, the everyday Russians, only hear the nonsense from Putin, that this war is going well, that the ships have not actually been attacked by Ukrainian drones, that the huge numbers of people who have been killed have not actually been killed, the huge numbers wounded have not actually been wounded, that this is just a special military operation, a blip in the daily life of ordinary Russians, that the attacks on Moscow, that the attacks on Russian territory are incidental and unimportant. No. We need ordinary Russians to recognize that their government is out of control. And that is about democracy, and it's about our survival, and it's about getting support. And if we think dealing with the Russian High Command is the way forward, we are wrong. The only way to stop this war is to deal with the Russian people. And that means we need to get the message out. And that means we need to be creative with the way that we send out the information, with the way that we open people's eyes to the reality that they know. They know their president is a thug. They know he's weak. They know his henchmen, like Medvedev, are even weaker. The problem that they've got is that there is no alternative. I personally don't think that Navalny is the alternative, but I think President Putin is doing his level best to make sure that Navalny is the only successor when Putin is dead. Navalny will be the Nelson Mandela of modern Russia.